MS Life is a very difficult event to produce, logistically very challenging, involving lots of people with physical disabilities. So we look around at venues across the country, and the Sage was a winner of a recent award on access, so we considered the option of the Sage, and it was wonderful. I mean, MS Life primarily is for research purposes. People will attend MS Life to find out where we are with research, so that's the driver for the event. We then build on every other thing related to multiple sclerosis, so that will include a club night, a fashion show, exhibition, workshops, and everything else that goes with living with MS.
MS Life was a really interesting event because it was very different from a lot of the other kind of conferences we work with. First of all, it was the first time it had taken place in the northeast outside Manchester, so that just securing that event for the area was a coup in itself. It was also an event that had a number of very specific requirements. They needed exactly the right venue due to the access requirements of the delegates, but also the nature of the event. It wasn't just a series of conference sessions in straightforward meeting rooms. They really wanted to create a live event that created a real experience for the people that attended it. So all of the different elements of the events, yes, there was the scientific sessions, but the fashion show, the exhibition, all of the different elements of the event meant that they were really looking for somewhere really special, that was somewhere quite unique, and that really had an impact on the people that were visiting.
We had many specific requests because the delegates all had different specialist needs, so it was really important that we catered for them and we understood their needs and not just assumed what they wanted. And that's the big difference there, and that's when we have to work really, really closely with the clients who book the conference to make sure that we get exactly what they want and we don't get it wrong. That's the most important thing.
And I think one of our redeeming factors is not just that we're an accessible venue in that we were built with accessibility in mind, but it's the attitude of our staff towards accessibility. They're not nervous about talking to people who have a disability. They feel very comfortable talking about it. We've held lots of training sessions with them so they understand the facilities that we have here, and they understand the different levels of disabilities that people can have, and that sometimes you'll see somebody, you won't know that they're disabled or they have a disability, but to really try and understand and to help people as much as possible when it's needed.
I mean, it's all about access and the mobility around the venue. As I say, you know, we need carers for this event for individual delegates who have issues on site, whether that be incontinence, stress, you know, losing a loved one, whatever that might be. And you know, normal events don't have that level of detail and that kind of delegate interaction. We had, you know, we engaged with the business community to get volunteers down, so we ran a whole volunteer campaign, and we brought some corporate companies, gave up their staff for the weekend to come down and to engage with the event, and again, that was a brilliant thing because people were engaging with delegates and on an event, whereas, you know, their day job was working in a call centre, and this gave them a fresh perspective on events, on the venue, and on MS as well. The main crust of the event was a research presentations in the conference halls, but then in addition we had a fashion show on the opening night. There was a wheel and walk around the quayside, which obviously lends itself fantastically as a backdrop to the event, and then there was the accessible club night as well, which yeah, I guess was kind of my favourite point of the weekend, because that's just something that, you know, people with mobility issues very rarely do, and certainly the feedback suggests that that was an event that really touched their heart, and thankfully the MS Society are going to run that as a legacy project.
Now, all in all, you know, we had to make plans that weren't just about the health and safety and the legislation side of things. It was about the comfort of people, making it feel welcome. And that was quite a fine balance, and you know, it's quite easy to make alterations that are accessible but not very aesthetic, but I think we actually managed to find quite a good balance this time.
Businesses, tourism businesses in Newcastle and Gateshead realise the challenges that are presented by disabled visitors, but also the opportunities. The fact that the hotels all came together to undertake training, to learn how to work and deliver their services most effectively for disabled visitors, I think was a really positive move, and it made business is aware of the business opportunities that are available, if they're tailoring their services to suit the needs of disabled visitors, that there's actually real gains to be made in terms of the number of visitors they can attract through their doors.
Prior to the event, some team members of ours went to the brief at the Sage, which was, you know, very, very good, and the feedback we got from that was fabulous. They then came back, and because the team members were from different areas in the hotel, they actually went back into the hotel, briefed their team members who were going to have a huge amount of contact with the MS Live guests. We briefed on the days, you know, as and when different team members came in. We trained on what to look for, you know, what these guys were expecting from us. And that just continued throughout the whole conference. And training is so important, really important.
Forward planning is the key to great success, and we did, and we're proud to say that we did do a lot of planning, and we did work really hard as a team. The communication as well, internally as well as externally, is really, really important with the client, and to make sure that everything is doubly understood and that what they say is not just interpreted as what we do, but it really is there, and we are hand in hand in what needs to happen. The training was excellent, and I would say that that's a great thing to do, and to have the extra training in not only what their expectations are, but if there are specific needs like with MS, that you do understand that fully as well. So a learning point for us is keep that up, and don't just next time, if we were to do it again or to do another conference similar, to say, oh yeah, we've done that, we're experienced that and we're great at it, to do exactly the same thing again, because it was such a great success. I would hate to try and we do it again and it not to work because of just assuming that we know everything.
MS Life was certainly a real challenge for everybody that worked on it. I think it was a very exciting, quite an emotional challenge in a lot of ways. The team at the Sage Gateshead, at Benchmark Communications, who managed the event, at Golly Slater, the PR company who were looking after promoting the event. It definitely had some very distinct challenges. But I think because it was an event that really affected individuals, it was a really positive experience for everybody that worked on it. And I think it's left a lot of people with a lot of feelings of positivity towards the MS Society, and also to taking on new challenges and different kinds of events.
We're still seeing the positive effects of holding such an event like this, you know, at the Sage Gateshead. Because essentially we've already got a legacy that's rolling out already. We are still working with the MS Society to actually push an inclusive club night that they've launched, and that's actually happening on the 27th of November this year, so in about a month's time. And that's actually was born from the success of the inclusive club night that the Sage held on the Saturday night of the whole weekend. So for us, that's, you know, incredible that we're actually able to draw on the successes and build upon them. And these events are happening in this region, which is fantastic. Not being held in Manchester, London, you know, or any of those areas yet, but we actually hope that it can, you know, sort of be a leader in this field, and we'll start to see these events all over.
The legacy for training the MS Live conference was that I'm able to deal with anything in the future. No matter who comes through the door, we are always able to provide that service. And they could suffer from any sort of condition, and we should be able to find a way to help make their stay as enjoyable as possible.
We continue to tell people about MS Live when clients come to the venue and they ask us how accessible we are. All we have to say is we've held MS Live and no more questions are asked.
It makes a huge impact to people. It is life-changing. For those that were at the fashion show on the Friday evening, it's made a huge life. And for those in the audience as well, it's raised awareness, raised understanding. A phenomenally successful event for the MS Society and the MS community as well.
But I think the biggest legacy will be working on events that touch people's lives. That's, you know, that's something that really grabbed the wider Benchmark team, and something that we look to take forward in the business and our personal lives as well.